Warriors fans, I need you to remember a very specific, very recent, very annoying night. It was late February, Smoothie King Center. The Warriors are down there, and across the floor is a man making his first appearance in over a year after tearing his Achilles, DeJounte Murray. And what does he do in his very first game back? He helps beat you, 113 to 109. Welcome back. Here's an L, Golden State. Petty, cold-blooded, and honestly, I respect it. Hold that memory, because this afternoon on NBA Today, Shams Charania said something that flips that entire night on its head, and I need you to stick with me all the way to the end, because there is one detail in this story, one thing the player himself did months ago, that makes this report feel less like a rumor and more like a done deal in slow motion. And when I tell you what it is, you're going to lean back in your chair. Here's the scene. Malika Andrews is running NBA Today. The offseason carousel is spinning. Everyone's debating how Golden State squeezes one more run out of a 38-year-old Steph Curry. And then they go to Shams. And Shams has the look. He says he's hearing there's mutual active interest in a deal that would bring DeJounte Murray to the Golden State Warriors. And then he stakes it. I'll put my reputation on this report. On NBA Today in June. When a man with Shams' track record uses the word reputation, he's not floating a balloon, he's telling you he already knows. Now, the whiplash, and oh, is it a good one? Because just a few months back, this exact same DeJounte Murray was on social media doing the absolute most to shut down trade rumors. Reporters from The Athletic, from Clutch Points, from everywhere were saying his camp wanted out of New Orleans. And Murray fired back, and I'm censoring this for YouTube. Basically telling everyone to forget a source, that he and his agent never ever asked for a trade, that he was committed, locked in, a Pelican. He could not have been louder about staying, and now here's Shams saying he might be running it back in the Bay. So either something changed, or the denials were exactly what denials usually are. Stay with me, because once you see why it's Golden State, the pieces snap together fast. Let's investigate. 3 reasons, and reason 3 is tangled up with that detail I'm saving, so we're building to it. Do not click off early. Reason number 1, Steph Curry is about to turn 38 years old, and he is exhausted from carrying a backcourt by himself. This past season, the Warriors didn't even make the playoffs. 37-45, lost in the play-in, season over, and the reason was painfully simple. When Steph didn't have help, the whole thing collapsed. And the help situation right now is dire, because Jimmy Butler, the man they traded for to be the second star, is coming off a torn ACL in his right knee. That is a long, hard road back. Moses Moody's been banged up too. So picture Steve Kerr, who by the way re-signed and is back on the sideline. Picture him staring around the huddle next season looking for someone, anyone, who can defend, handle the ball, and create. Enter DeJounte Murray. A real lead guard who can take the ball out of Steph's hands for stretches, run the offense, and let the greatest shooter alive do what he does best. Fly around off the ball and torch people without having to be the engine every possession. That's not a want, that's oxygen. Reason number 2, the defense, and this one is for Draymond. Here's a franchise whose entire identity for over a decade has been built on multi-positional switch everything, get in your grill defense. And right now, the perimeter defense is a real question with the roster aging and banged up. DeJounte Murray is a former league leader in steals, a genuine two-way menace who can take the other team's best guard and make his night miserable. You pair that with Draymond Green orchestrating from the back line, and suddenly the Warriors have real defensive teeth again. And let's be honest, Draymond would love this. A guy who actually competes on defense, who picks pockets, who plays with an edge. That's a Draymond Green kind of teammate. The fit on that end is clean, it's obvious, and it addresses one of the exact reasons this team fell out of the playoff picture. And before reason 3, because reason 3 is the spicy one, talk to me in the comments. Warriors fans, is DeJounte Murray the running mate Steph has been screaming for? Or are you terrified of the Achilles and the shooting in a system that lives and dies on spacing? Because I think Dub Nation is genuinely torn on this, and I want to read the war that's about to break out below. Reason number 3, the hard part, the money and the assets, and why this is genuinely difficult. Which, ironically, is part of why it's such a surprise. Here's the brutal truth. The Warriors are jammed up against the apron. They've got a massive amount of money tied up in a handful of players, and DeJounte Murray is owed $32.8 million next season. You do not just absorb that when you're where Golden State sits on the cap sheet. So how does this even happen? This is where it gets creative. To make the money work, the Warriors would almost certainly have to move significant salary out. We're talking about decisions on guys with player options, attaching contracts, possibly pulling a third team into the deal to balance everything. It is complicated. It might be the single hardest part of the entire thing, and that difficulty is exactly why, when it first leaked, half the internet said it could never happen. But hard and impossible are different words, and Mike Dunleavy Jr. solves hard problems when there's a player worth solving them for. The Pelicans, remember, are desperate to clear their guard logjam and create cap space. Their rookie is clearly the point guard of the future. They're stacked with guards making 30+ million, and Joe DeMars needs to untangle it. So the motive on New Orleans' side is real. That's what makes a hard deal an achievable one. Now, the skeptic. They cut to a first take clip, and Stephen A. Smith is in full eruption. He's got the hands going, and he's basically yelling, a torn Achilles guard who shoots 30% from 3 on the shooting team in Kerr's system. Where's the floor spacing? And you're gonna give up assets you don't have to get him. Make it make sense. And look, those are fair shots. The shooting is a legitimate concern in a system built on gravity and spacing. And the Achilles plus the cost in a thin asset cupboard, those are real. But here's the counter. On the spacing, the Warriors don't need Murray to be a sniper. They've got the greatest shooter who ever lived bending the floor. What they need is a second ball handler and a defender, and Murray is both. He can be the guy who initiates, defends the tough assignment, and lets Curry play off the ball more, which at 38 is exactly what you want for him. On the Achilles, he already came back. He returned to NBA action late last season and showed he can be healthy and productive, which is the biggest question with any Achilles guy, and he's answered it on the floor. The mystery's mostly resolved. Stephen A. is reading the three-point percentage. The front office is reading the need for a two-way creator next to an aging legend. Different exercises entirely. And now here's the payoff I promised. The one detail that makes this feel real. It's not the cap math, it's not even the fit. It's the player, because back when all those trade rumors were swirling, the reporting wasn't that New Orleans wanted to dump him. It was that all indications from his own side suggested he'd prefer a new destination, his camp, his people. And yes, he publicly denied it loudly. But here's the thing about a player whose representation keeps signaling openness while the player publicly says he's staying. That's a guy managing a situation, not a guy who's truly content. And what does a competitor like DeJounte Murray want more than anything as he stares down turning 30? He wants to win. He wants out of a lottery team that's developing a rookie ahead of him. And where does a hyper-competitive two-way guard get to go chase wins next to the greatest shooter alive in a proven winning culture for a Hall of Fame coach? When the player's own camp has been lighting this fuse for months, you stop reading the denials and start reading the smoke. That's the tell. That's the thing that turns this from interesting into, oh, this has legs. And let me give you the genuinely funny part, the full circle absurdity of it. The last time you saw this man in person, he walked into a building fresh off a torn Achilles after a year on the shelf and beat you. He gave a tanking Pelicans team one of its only highlights of the season, and he did it at your expense. And now the universe is asking, what if that guy, that exact petty pickpocketing, box score stuffing menace, comes and does that to everyone else while wearing your jersey? There's a poetry to it. The guy who beat you in his comeback game, suiting up to help save Steph's final act. Tell me you wouldn't watch every second, but the nightmare scenario is real too, and I won't hide it. There's a version where the explosiveness doesn't fully return, where the non-shooting clogs Kerr's beautiful spacing, where you gave up assets you couldn't spare for a guy who's a half step slow. That's the coin flip. Genius on one side, what were they thinking on the other? But here's the reality. With Steph at 38, with Butler hurt, with a window measured in months, not years, you cannot run it back with the same group that missed the playoffs and just hope. You have to swing. And swinging on a two-way all-star guard who gives Curry a real running mate and gives Draymond a real defensive partner? That's a swing worth taking, so let me wrap it. DeJounte Murray to the Warriors makes sense because Curry is 38 and desperate for a two-way running mate with Butler hurt. It makes sense because his defense gives this team its identity back. The money is the hard part, the shooting and the Achilles are the risks, but the Pelicans' motive makes the deal achievable, and Murray already answered the health question on the floor, and the fact that his own camp has quietly wanted out for months, no matter what he tweeted, is the tell that the player wants this. That's the case. That's the whole story. Now here's what I'm watching next, and this is the next video, so stay subscribed. If this happens, the very next question is what it costs. Which young warrior, which contract, which piece of the future, and what it means for Draymond and the rest of the core. One move reveals the entire blueprint for Steph's last stand, and I've got a read on that blueprint I think is going to surprise you. Hit the like if you want the follow-up the moment it drops. Tell me in the comments whether you want Murray in the Bay, and I'll catch you in the next one. Dub Nation, the man who beat you in his comeback game might be coming to play for you. Wild times.